Hello, I'm David Kain. Welcome to Kain & Company. I'm the president of Kain Automotive, and I always love spending time on the show going over things that are important to you all. So whenever you have any questions, be sure to send me an email to David@Kain Automotive, and I'll be glad to answer it right here on the air. So let's get right to it. So one of the emails that I received recently said, what do you think of digital retailing? Is it something that I need to get into at our dealership, or is this something that I can do down the line? Well, if you think back to when the internet really started in the 1996 timeline, there were a lot of dealers who were saying, I'd rather just be a settler instead of a pioneer. And digital retailing, I remember watching a videotape recently of when we launched Ford Direct as Ford dealers. We were talking about the fact that customers could purchase a car online, do a shrink wrap deal, and the range for financing, trade value, and everything, even select their dealer and the vehicle that they were interested in. So we don't know how long it's going to take during the pioneering phase, but my guess is if you get involved with digital retailing now, you'll be really well positioned once this thing really takes hold. And when you think in terms of the internet used to account for less than 1% of all retail sales at an average automotive dealership, and a lot of our clients, if you listen to them and you talk about how the internet influences walk in and call in and of course the leads that are generated, it only accounts for about 99% of all sales in some form or fashion. So when you then subset it as the digital retailing piece, I don't know what that's going to be, but we're already seeing dealers who are doing a spectacular job aligning their website, utilizing companies that are readily available out there in the marketplace. Some websites are actually building it in organically in their website platform. So I think it's going to become more and more natural for dealerships to at least offer that. Now, one bit of advice that we're starting to notice is a lot of us relate digital retailing to a buy it now button. Well, the truth is when we see dealers lining up and they're trying to do the buy it now type strategy, that sometimes inhibits the opportunity. So a bit of language change that tends to work is calculate your payments or estimate your payments or consider purchasing or work out your own deal, or anything that's not as overt as buy it now. And it's best to do some A/B testing, maybe look at some different strategies of other powerhouses on the web, and think about the language that you might want to use and start tiptoeing in the water. Before you know it, by the end of 2018, we're going to see and hear a lot of wonderful stories about dealers and their success with digital retailing. So make sure you don't miss out in formulating this at your dealership, because it really tends to change the culture, and you'll want to make sure you get your whole team lined up for that. So another question that came in via email was all these car subscriptions that are working their way across the country. A used car subscription model started by the founder of TrueCar, Scott Painter, is Fair.com. And I would encourage you to go to Fair.com and take a look at that strategy and potentially consider doing something like that when it comes into your market. It's launched in California. It's primarily for used vehicles, but I have a feeling they'll get into new cars before too long. But that's a model that's interesting. A lot of unanswered questions, but certainly something you'll want to pay attention to, because as consumers say, I don't want to pay for the whole car. I just want to use the car and pay for what I use it for and have some flexibility. I want to drive a truck or a convertible or a sedan. It gives you a lot of flexibility. So dovetailing that with the retail for automotive new are these platforms like FlexDrive and Clutch and some of the other contemporary companies out there that are building new and used vehicle subscription models for dealers. And companies like the Germain Motor Company and others out there on the cutting edge when it comes to digital retailing are considering that. So the Drive Germain model is one that's of particular interest to me because they're a long-term client, and I'm really looking forward to see how that plays out. So once again, not that you have to be the one who invents it, but pay attention to it. Don't get left behind when these strategies tend to move forward. So another thing that comes through the mail every single week is recruiting. How do I recruit the right people? And I want to touch on it because a lot of it has to do with utilizing the right words. When we run an ad, a lot of people are just absolutely petrified of selling cars. It's not something that a lot of people brag about. I was raised in the industry, so it's perfectly natural for me, but a lot of people are selling phones, they're working retail in other industries, perhaps they're working at a restaurant, or they're in marketing in some form or fashion, or perhaps a college graduate that just did graduate. We need to come up with the verbiage in the description to make our job sound more attractive. And if you're offering a salary, be sure to mention that. If it's non-commissioned, be sure to mention that. Talk about all the things that we kind of take for granted that someone who's entering the job market or considering 2018 being a year of change, give them something to latch on to and to consider the automotive industry as a better place to be. If you need any help with that, I've prepared some really effective help wanted ads. I'll be glad to share them with you and help you kick that up in your neck of the woods. And speaking of language and updating it, something that we're finding as we update the conversation tools, the scripting, and the language guides for when you're on the telephone with a customer or sending an email or text messages, update your language. We are an industry that is fraught with old, tired language, and it perpetuates the stereotypes that we have out there. And I hate to say this once again, I go to the Google and type in professions ranked on ethics, and the Gallup organization does this study each and every year, and I was so hopeful with the change in the marketplace that car salespeople would be rated higher, but nevertheless it was interesting. Lobbyists are now at the bottom, car salespeople are just above that, and then members of Congress and of course senators. So we're not really in a crowd that we want to hang with. They might say the same thing about us, but by and large, dealerships work so hard to improve the quality of the people that are in there and the guest experience. Isn't it time that we update the language that we use both internally and externally? And you know, calling a guest an up is a very degrading comment. Doing a 4-pound deal when you're trying to describe what kind of profit, high-fiving each other, some of the visuals that are out there, talking about people that have bad credit as bogues. Wash your dealership of this kind of stuff and start at the core of designing a culture for 2018 that really gives you the confidence to know that your team is out there representing you the way you want to be represented. And it starts at the top. If the dealer talks that way, the GM talks that way, and everybody talks that way, you're going to have a much better embracing attitude by your team members. So give that a try, and I think those are the key emails that I received. If you've got anything on your mind, feel free to reach out to me. I will be glad to help you in any way, shape, or form that I can. Thank you very much, and thank you all for joining me here on Kain & Company, and I look forward to seeing you again next week.